Hey everyone, this is going to be Chapter 8 today, but what I've decided to do is because Chapter 8 is such a long chapter, there's so much content I need to give you in Chapter 8, I decided to break it down into two parts. So I'm going to post two different videos for Chapter 8. Today is Part 1, and then the next one will be Part 2. So in Part 1, I'm just going to give you a general overview of the outlining process, and we'll look at the stuff that's here on the board behind me. And then for Part 2, I'll get into more of the specifics and details of how I actually want you to outline your major speeches, and there will be a lot more specific content there. So we'll do the general overview first, and then we'll get more detail with Part 2. So what you see on the board behind me is just 4 steps of the speech development process, meaning 4 of the steps that you'll actually go through as you're building your speech. Now, these are not the only steps that are involved, but this is good enough to kind of get you started, get you going, and have a sense of the entire process completely. All right, so let's just follow the steps. Step number 1, the first thing that you do, and this is always the first thing that you do, is you're going to pick your topic. We can't do anything else until you've chosen your topic. All right, so you've got to pick your topic first. There's no outlining, no organizing, no researching until you've chosen your topic. So start with that. Step number 2, understand your general purpose. What is the general purpose of the speech? Well, that's part of what I've assigned to you. I've got 3 general purposes up here: to commemorate, to inform, to persuade. And if those look familiar, those are the 3 major speeches you have to give this summer. And so I've assigned those to you. And general purposes are always communicated in the form of an infinitive. You go back to grammar. That's a verbal phrase that begins with the word to, T-O. So you've got these 3, and there's other types of speeches as well, but these are the ones that we have this semester. So that's your general purpose. It's just whichever speech you happen to be working on. So when you stand in front of the camera, what's your general purpose? To commemorate, or to inform, or to persuade. It's just a general overall purpose. All right, so that's real. Those first 2 steps, very quick, very easy. Number 3, develop your specific purpose. And you guys are going to work on something this semester that's going to end up being part of the introduction, and that is your specific purpose statement. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the general purpose of the speech, whichever one you're working on, to commemorate, to inform, to persuade. You're going to add to that your topic, whatever topic you've chosen. And when you put those 2 together, you're going to end up with this longer infinitive phrase or this longer sentence, and that's going to be your specific purpose statement. So if you see a sentence that begins with a general purpose and it ends with a topic idea, that's a specific purpose statement. You're going to end up putting this in the introductions of your major speech outlines. And I'll get into that when we cover the chapter on intros and conclusions. You'll see that as part of your introduction. Now, when you look at the board, you might think to yourself, okay, I've got my topic, I know the general purpose, I put the 2 together to form my specific purpose statement. I guess now what I can do is move down to step 4 and develop my thesis statement, and then I can get going working on my speech. And that would make sense if you approach speech class the same way you approach English class. Because you're taught in English, develop your thesis, and then write your paper. But in my class, I want it just the opposite. I want you to develop your speech outline, then you can work on your thesis statement. Okay? And it makes sense because of the way I want you to build this sentence. So in actuality, you cannot go right from step 3 to step 4. In between these 2 steps, there is a gap of time. And in that gap of time, this is where you start to research. And this is where you start to organize all that research into an outline. Once the outline is set, then you can move down to the 4th step, which is to develop your thesis statement. Okay, and again, it's all based on how I want you to put that sentence together. So the first 3 steps you can do very quickly. And then comes the research, the organizing, the outlining, really the putting all the content together. Once your outline is set and you have it the way you want it, then you can build your thesis statement. Okay? So again, it all comes down to how I want you to put this sentence together. So let me give you my definition. And write this down someplace, or come back to this video and watch it again. Because this is how I want you to build this thesis statement for speech class. So here's my definition of a thesis statement. It is 1 sentence that lists all of your main points in order from the body. So one sentence that lists all of the main points in order from the body. And so once you get the body of the outline set, you're going to have a certain number of main points in order. I want you to take the key words out of those main points, list them in order, in the same order you have in the body. All right, so if you've got 3 main points in the body, this, and this, then you're going to list those 3 things in order in your thesis statement. And so in a very real sense, your thesis statement is nothing more than a list. That's all it is. It's just like a grocery list. If you have to go to the store today and you said to me, hey, I got to go to the store because I need to buy milk, eggs, bread, and cheese, okay? If I had you write that sentence down, we learned years ago that when you list items in a sentence, you separate them with commas, right? Simple. So I'm going to the store today to buy milk, comma, eggs, comma, bread, comma, cheese, comma, and that's how you write that sentence. Well, that's exactly what you're doing in my class for your thesis statement. Except instead of food items, you're going to list the main points from the body of the outline in that same order in which they appear in the body. So does it make sense now why you can't do your thesis statement first and then work on the speech? You see, you can't write your thesis statement until you know what your main points are, because that's what this sentence is. It's a sentence that lists your main points. So you got to have your main points first. Well, you don't know your main points till you have your outline set. You can't work on your outline until you've done your research. You can't research till you've chosen your topic. So you see how it all fits together. Okay? It's just steps that you have to follow. Your thesis statement is the single most important sentence in your speech. There is no other sentence that is as important as your thesis statement. So I'm going to put 2 stars next to this one. 1, because the thesis statement will also appear in your introductions. So you've got your specific purpose statement and thesis statements in the intro, and you'll see that in that chapter. But the 2nd star because it's such an important sentence. In fact, a lot of times in speech class, your thesis statement is taught as a contract between speaker and audience. And woe to the speaker who breaks the contract, right? What you promise needs to be what you deliver. So this is a really important sentence. Excuse me. So take a look at the sentence I have up here on the right-hand side of the screen. This is just a simple sentence, nothing fancy about it. You should join a fraternity or sorority because of the academic, economic, and social benefits. This is a thesis statement from a speech. Now, you have not heard the speech. You have not seen the outline. All you know about this speech is this one simple sentence. But let's see how much we can learn about the speech from this one simple sentence. First of all, from the list of general purposes that we had earlier, which one do you think best fits? To commemorate, to inform, or to persuade? And if you are thinking or you said to persuade, that's correct. Is there something about the sentence that would cause you to say persuade? Really, it's that word right there. You should. Anytime you tell somebody what you think they should do, is that not a persuasive statement? So you can tell right away from the wording of this sentence, it's a persuasive speech. All right, what's the overall topic of the speech? What's it all about? Well, it's about joining a fraternity or sorority, or reasons why you should join, or benefits thereof, right? That's the topic. All right, now let's get more detailed, more specific. How many main points are there in the body of the outline? Now, you might think to yourself, well, how am I supposed to know? I've never seen the outline. Well, remember, the whole point of this sentence, the only reason it exists is to list the main points from the body. So when I ask you based on this sentence, how many main points are in the body, look for the list. 9 times out of 10, the list will occur at the end of the sentence. It doesn't have to, but in the English language, when we have lists of things that we put in a sentence, we just usually put them at the end. It can be in the middle, it can be at the beginning. You know, you could say milk, eggs, bread, and cheese are the items I'm going to buy at the store today. You could do that, but it seems awkward, it feels awkward. So we usually list things at the end. And when you look at the end and you find the list, if you said 3 main points, that's correct. Academic benefits is main point 1, economic is main point 2, social benefits is main point 3. So think about this. From this one simple sentence, you learn what type of speech it is, what the topic is, how many main points I have, and what those main points are. That's a lot of good stuff, just from this one sentence. So if I could go backwards, this is the finished product, right? And it's based on the body of the outline. So knowing that there's 3 main points, if this were the body, I know I've got 3 main points, and I know in the sentence they're listed in order, so I know academic benefits is main point 1, I know economic benefits is main point 2, I know social benefits is main point 3. That's the overall structure of the body. Each one of these is going to have subpoints too that will go into more detail. But once I get the body of the outline set and I know what my main points are going to be, all I do, take the main points out, list them in order in a sentence. How you word the rest of the sentence is completely up to you. You've got flexibility there. As long as those main points are listed in order, that's what makes the thesis statement correct for my class. Okay? Again, don't overthink it. It really is just that simple. So pick your topic, understand what speech you're working on, put the 2 together, develop your specific purpose statement, start researching, start gathering information, organize it into an outline. Once the outline is set, at least the body is set, then take the main points from the body, list them in order in a sentence, and you've got your thesis statement. What you can do is go to Canvas and go to our modules area where everything else is, and look under the worksheets module. And one of the worksheets there, one of the files there is labeled thesis worksheet. You may have already looked at it. And I've got that on there to kind of help you to reinforce what I just talked about in terms of thesis statements. So if you'll check that worksheet out, you'll see on there different sets of main points. The first set of main points I've done for you. Underneath it in the blank space, I've typed in a thesis statement based on those main points. You've got 3 other sets of main points there, and if you want to, I'm not requiring it, but if you want to, after you watch this video and you know what I'm looking for, go to that thesis worksheet, work on those other 3 thesis statements. It's just 3 sentences, 1 sentence for each set of main points. And if you want to, you can email me your 3 thesis statements and say, hey, Mr. Warner, can you check these? Did I get them right? Do I really understand this concept? You don't have to, but you can if you want to. It's not for a grade. It's just to make sure that you do understand this, that you do get this really important concept of thesis statements and how I want you to build them. And if you send those to me, I can reply real quick to you and say, hey, you got it, or no, this one's not quite right. But at least then you'll know and I'll know that you've got this concept down, and you'll be able to have good, strong thesis statements for your major speeches. And I'll just give you one small detail in advance. Your thesis statement is so important, I actually end up grading it twice for your major speeches. And I'll explain that when we get to that video, and you'll see what I mean. But it's that important of a concept and that important of a sentence. So if you want to make sure you got it, go to that thesis worksheet, check it out, do those 3 sentences, email them to me if you want to. Again, it's not required, but if you want to make sure that you got it, go ahead and do that, and I'll let you know if you've got it or not. Otherwise, this is the first part of Chapter 8, just the overview. The second part of Chapter 8 will go into much more detail about outlining, so you can watch that right now if you want to. You can let this kind of digest for a while and come back to it later. That's up to you, but that's the next step in the process. We'll get to that here in just a moment, all right? Have a great day.